But when I first came to Korea in 2012, that was for the Yosu World Expo. You know how now they're really trying to push the 2030 Busan World Expo. So in 2012, Korea also hosted it. And so in Yosu, that is a small city. But when I was there, that was when like people had never probably seen an African American or a black person before. So people came up to me. They were like, "Whoa!" Like people just started conversations, mostly older Koreans. And like when I started speaking my very limited Korean at that time, they were like, "What? You're learning Korean?" Oh, yeah. They were so appreciative that like some random high school or college student from the States was learning Korean. So like when it comes to the smaller towns. I think that people will be more willing to come up to you and talk, but in the bigger cities, no.
You live in Korea? Is Korea good for foreigners? Do they have racism in Korea? How are the cultural differences? There are so many questions so many foreigners ask us all the time about Korea. Hi, I'm Nidhi from Korea and welcome to JIMK, India Meets Korea, where we talk about foreign experiences and how foreigner feels when they live in Korea. So today's topic is really interesting, where we are going to talk about the cultural differences and adjustments that a foreigner has to do when they live in a Korean society. And like, who is the better person to ask rather than the foreigners who are living in Korea? So today I brought a great personality and really dear friend of mine, Momo. Welcome, Momo. Do you want to introduce yourself a little bit in short?
Yes. Hi, everybody. My name's Momo. I'm from the United States. I've been in Korea. I haven't been in Korea, but unlike Nidhi, I haven't been in Korea for years straight. I've been going back and forth for about 10 years. So this is my fourth time, but I've come back to study Korean full time at Sogang University, and this is my 5th month here back. So like when it comes to living in Korea as a foreigner, I feel like I've experienced it all throughout my 20s, so I'm excited to talk to you all about it today.
Right? You have been here like at different times of your life.
Of my life, yeah.
Right? Like when you were early 20s and the mid 20s, then the end of the 20s.
Yep.
So it's going to be like, we would be able to talk about different changes that happened over time. Like 7 years ago, the Korea was different than today.
So much different. It was so different than it was.
So when they talk about the cultural differences and adjustment, I feel like today it's really a little bit easier than what it was in 2010 or 15 when we first came. It's like people used to stare when we were walking on the streets, and they wanted us to get into the culture more. But now, like, we see so many foreigners when we are going outside, so I guess, like, it's a lot easier now.
Yeah. Before, it's like you would go to a neighborhood that's mostly residential, and you would be the only foreigner there.
Yeah.
And you would be surprised if you see another person, you're like, oh.
Even we would stare at the foreigners.
Yeah.
Like, oh, there is another foreigner, there is another foreigner.
What are you doing here? Right. But now it's like, literally, I will go to a random neighborhood that maybe you think only Koreans live there. Nope, there's another foreigner, and then like get on the bus. There's 4 other foreigners, so it's compared to even 5 years ago, the amount of foreigners that are living in Seoul.
Yeah,
I can't say Korea in general, but in Seoul has grown exponentially. Like I would really want to see a graph that shows like it probably was.
If we can't find a graph, we will definitely add a graph.
So yeah.
Still, like, there is like a couple of questions that a lot of foreigners ask us, like, do you think Korean society is welcoming to foreigners, or there are still barriers for the integration?
It definitely is not an easy answer, but the short answer is it's getting better. That's for sure. In general, the Korean government has really focused a lot on getting tourism in. Like, I don't know if you've seen the KTO, the Korea Tourism Organization's Feel the Rhythm music videos. Like, they put out a bunch last year and the year before, and they got millions of views. And I feel like that's, in addition to K-pop, that's also a great way that people came or got to know about Korea. So it's like when it comes to government, yes, it's open to people to stay short term.
Yeah.
The problem is when you want to stay long term.
Yes, I guess like that's one of the thing. So many Indians are also texting me sometimes, or even the foreigners when we go on like YouTube videos or TV. It's like, oh, how's living in Korea? Can I come there and get a job and live there for like find a guy and like live there forever? It's like, well, in Korea there is a saying K by K, which means like case by case. It totally depends on that and how much you really want to stay here and what you want to do. If you don't have a goal, then it's like,
yeah.
But welcoming to foreigners, I think it's becoming welcoming to foreigners. Like you would see a lot more foreigners here. If you go to India, actually, so many people will stare at you.
Really?
So my friends, when
even though I have the same skin color as some of them.
Yeah, because they want to take a picture with you. Most of the times, that's the case. They would like to like, oh my God, there's a foreigner. We want to talk to you, and like the friendliness is there. But one thing I have felt in Korea is like, they don't say hi or greet you. Even though it's like we exist in the same space, I haven't seen that many Koreans coming to me ever and saying like a hi.
I feel like that's very like big city. That's definitely true for big cities. Yes. But when I first came to Korea in 2012, that was for the Yosu World Expo. You know how now they're really trying to push the 2030 Busan World Expo. So in 2012, Korea also hosted it. And so in Yosu, that is a small city, like even further down from Busan. I don't think you can go any more south. You'll hit water, and then you have to go like take a boat to Jeju-do. But when I was there, that was when like people had never probably seen an African American or a black person before. So people came up to me. They were like, "Whoa!" Like people just started conversations, mostly older Koreans. And like when I started speaking my very very limited Korean at that time, they were like, "What? You're learning Korean?" Oh, yeah. They were so appreciative that like some random high school or college student from the States was learning Korean. So like when it comes to the smaller towns, I think that people will be more willing to come up to you and talk, but in the bigger cities, no.
It's like in that way I feel it's hard to make friends, which is like a problem for many foreigners. When they come over here, they want to like really get to know the culture. So culture wise, I'm not sure, but in that way, it's a little bit hard integration to get into that. Even after 8 years, I feel like it's hard to make friends in Korea, no matter how perfect Korean we talk. First, I guess it's mostly because they are afraid, a little bit of low confidence when they talk in English maybe, or they feel like, oh my God, what if I have to talk to them in English? But still, that is there. Yeah. But so what we do, we that's why we talk in Korean, don't we?
Yeah.
So there comes my another question is like, how do we adapt or you adapt in Korean culture and still keep your personality and your identity intact?
Ooh, what a question! Because
I had that issue. There was a time 3 years ago, I wanted to get or like be into the society and melt into the society and culture so eagerly and desperately that I was losing my personality.
Yep.
And in the end, it was like, I'm always going to be a foreigner here. Like, that's a really hard truth that I'm never going to be one of them, at least with current status and what's been there. And then no matter how much I'm trying to melt, I'm always an oil in the water.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good analogy.
Right? And so now I understand, like, I have to keep my personality intact to keep me survive, like, there.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
Literally, I had the same experience. Like you said, I've been in Korea in my like early 20s, mid 20s, and now late 20s / early 30s. And it definitely, when I first came to Korea in my early 20s, I was the same. I wanted to just mimic Korean girls and do what they do, and then maybe people will accept me, aka guys, and it'll be easier to date. It wasn't.
Well, it comes even with the fashion, you know?
Yes!
Like you wear those mini skirts, you try to get that Korean makeup on you and use all the different things that Koreans do, but I know like it's like you lose yourself.
Yeah. So like when I came back to when I went back to the States after like like half of a year in Korea, like I was like, whoa, where did I go? Like I felt it. I was like, whoa, I tried to change myself for a country that, or for people who will always see me as a foreigner. I can't change my skin color. I can't change like how tall I am. Like it's stuff that's me. And even when it came to how I would act, I would try to be like very, girly and like, But then I went back to the States. I was like, that's not me. I'm a very strong woman that like really enjoys my independence and like I don't want to be relying on somebody, and like that's not me. So I really had to be like, all right, it definitely is helpful if you know who you are and then come to live in a foreign country, but it also helps to build who you are while you're here.
I guess that's totally true when it comes to me as well. Is one time it happened when my aunt, she said like, you don't feel like Indian anymore. And Koreans said that, oh yeah, you are a foreigner to us. So for me the question became like, okay, I'm not Indian enough for Indians and I'm not Korean enough for Koreans, of course, because I'm not Korean. So where does who the I am, who I am, and that question made me think like, okay, if I want to live my life, I have to stop thinking about what others think about me. And I guess here when it comes to like, we talk about this so often, like what are your values? What are your values in life? What are the beliefs that you want to adhere to in your life? So for me, for example, you are opinionated, I'm opinionated, and I stopped giving my opinions in the middle because like in here it's not an outspoken society at that time, so I felt always like reserved. But now I'm like, well, this is my opinion and I want to give you my opinion. Take it or leave it. Like, that's your choice.
That's I also had to go through that because in Korean culture it's very typical. It's very like it's considered good manners to just hear what people are saying and just listen and not put your opinions on it, no matter how wrong you think that person is. But I felt like that only keeps your relationships with people at a very surface level. You have to be able to push back, to create some tension, to put your opinions out there. Not saying like, oh, that my opinion is right, but just to be like, this is a different way of thinking.
A different side of a story.
A different side of a story. How about we talk about it, like we think about it this way.
I guess once you start doing that, my friends circle changed. I started to meet, like, it's not like, here there are not people who are like me in Korean society. There are so many people who like the growth mindset or who are like me. It's just like I hide myself so much before that I could not find the friends who are like me and who I enjoy company of. But after I started putting my personality with the culture, like, still, we don't go and be rude to people.
No.
We're still like, oh yeah, annyeonghaseyo, and like, we do all of that, but when it's needed, we give our opinions and we ask for their opinions, and we found those kind of friends in the society. And I guess, like, that's what you have to do. You have to find your personality, what you want to do in this society. It's true everywhere, actually. It's not just Korea, but still.
One question that your viewers probably have is, how do you meet friends in Korea? Like, how did you do it?
It's still a hard question. It's really hard. It's still like, like we, in Korea, how do we meet friends?
Well, first of all, if you're introverted, you need to become a little bit more extroverted.
Because like, if they don't talk to you, you have to go and talk to them. One of the ways, I guess, like those hobby clubs that they have. Like, you like hiking club that you joined recently.
Yeah.
I joined running club recently and badminton club or something like that. Those clubs are one of the way of doing it.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of English cafes around.
Yes.
So some of them are like actual companies that are running them. Some of them are just people who are like, hey, anybody in my neighborhood who wants to exchange language or like have a group, like English speaking group. I think those are also good ways because what I've learned is that when people are open and willing to learn about another language, it tells a lot about how they think about the world, how they see the world. If you are just speaking one language, I think your worldview is like a little bit narrow. But if you're open to learning about the language, not just the language, but the people, the culture, the history, your vision becomes so much more wider, and you come to accept and understand people who are different from you. And so I think becoming friends with those type of people in Korea is gonna make a very strong foundation for you.
That's kind of really true. Like everybody's going to learn about the culture once they come over here, like respect the elders or
don't put your chopsticks in the rice, like don't stab your chopsticks in your rice and like keep it there. Like small things that you can learn by just watching people.
Yes. But if you just try to like be a little bit more outgoing, maybe you would be able to find the friends. Even in Itaewon or Hongdae, if you go nowadays, a lot of people, if you talk to them, they talk to you and they want to become friends, but you have to be a little bit extrovert for that,
Yeah.
Well, if we talk more about it, I guess like this is a topic which is never ending.
Never ending. We could go on and on and on about this.
Literally.
But we have to be, respectful of the viewers.
So we are going to the interesting part of the video, which is like a survival tips game.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a couple of scenarios and you're going to give me like the answers of that in tips or 3 ways or 2 ways, whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay, here go the first one. So you are packing to come to Korea.
Okay.
What are the 3, and you're panicking, you're like, you don't have time. So what are the 3 things you must pack before you land in Korea, according to you?
Ooh. Okay, the first thing for sure is, like, I have big feet. I'm not tall, but I have big feet.
That's true.
It's not fair. But when it comes to, nice shoes in Korea, not just running shoes or sneakers, but nice shoes, it only goes up to a certain size for women.
It's like 250.
250.
Yes. 250 is the end.
Yeah, maybe 255 if you're lucky. But I think I'm 265, so I will never be able to find nice fancy heels. So I would definitely bring a nice pair of heels.
Yeah.
Seasonings. I know it's like kind of sounds weird, but like if you want to have a meal that reminds you of home, sometimes buying those seasonings in Korea is a little bit more expensive because they're imported. So, or like they just don't have it.
You won't find the right brand,
Exactly.
The one you like,
So if you have a certain seasoning that you're like, I need this, do it. I had my mom send me this seasoning that me and her use from a store called Trader Joe's back in the States. And like, whenever she sent me a package, I was like, put the seasoning in there. Because it's just like, it's so good. It makes everything so tasty. And it's just something I can't find here. So that would be the second thing. The third thing would be makeup, especially if you use foundation and you are not
white.
This color or lighter.
You're not white. Just
you're not white, or bright skinned. Then it will be very hard to find colors that match your skin tone.
Yes.
So bringing,
I had a hard time.
And even like lipsticks, like this type of dark lipstick, you will never find in Korea. So if you know that you have like a certain type of lipstick or color that really works for you, foundations. When it comes to eyeliner and mascara, that stuff you can find easy for cheap. But
like anything which has a color. Nowadays you can find it in Sephora. Sephora has colors.
That's true. But Sephora didn't exist 5 years ago in Korea. That's also something that's new. Well, what are the 3 things that you would?
I guess like I would go with first. I really had struggle with the pants. I still buy my pants from India, so or other country if I'm there or online. 2 is makeup. I buy stuff from Sephora nowadays, but I still like the colors that I buy from India because they have more shades which suits me. And it does not matter. The lipstick is fine, but the color combinations in terms of makeup is there. And the third one would be, I don't know. So for me, it's medicines. A couple of like the first medicines that you are used to.
Yes.
Like, of course, you can go to the Yakug, which is pharmacy in here, but I feel you have to have some of the medicines that you need.
Yes,
on hand.
That is true.
Okay, second question. You are at a Korean restaurant, but the menu is in Korean, and there are no pictures. How would you solve it? Quick answer.
Papago. Okay, so there's an app called Papago, which is a really good translator. It's better than Google Translate. Forget Google Translate when it comes
to
Korean.
Yes.
But what's great about Papago is that you can take a picture of words and you can choose whatever language and it'll show that the words right under that picture. So it's like, and then you can use that to look it up on Google. So it's a multi-step process, but it works.
Sure, and if like for me, I think like I would suggest if you know how to write the basic Korean on your phone, just write the whole thing on. But like it would take a lot longer time, but still. Write the thing on Google, search it how it looks. Once you see the looks, you would understand what it looks like, maybe. But you are invited to a Korean wedding. What should you wear? What are the customs that you should be aware of?
Similar to the States, don't wear white.
Never wear white.
Just don't look prettier than the bride. Usually, like when I first went to my first Korean wedding, I wore a really bright green and white dress that had flowers on it, and people were like looking at me, and I was like, oh God, did I mess up? Because in the States, when you go to a wedding, you want to be, you dress up.
Floral,
You dress up to impress.
Yes.
But in Korea, it's very typical to like, maybe something like this. Something very bland. Gray, black. Something that doesn't make you stand out.
Yes.
It doesn't even have to be a dress. You can just wear like office clothes.
Yes.
So
another tip is like prepare some chugigam, which is like a little bit of congratulation gifts.
Yes.
It's all about it's not gifts. It's money.
It's money.
So
it's cash.
you have to be prepared of that.
Yeah.
Like,
and how much you give depends on how close you are to that person.
Let's cover that in another topic.
Exactly.
Well. Last one I have, like you are experiencing a cultural shock after you come to Korea and you are homesick. So how would you cope up with that?
Community. Like not holding it in, just like any emotion that you feel, not holding it in and like ruminating in your mind about it, but having a community of people who you can talk to and they can understand. And not just so they can complain, but also so you can have some outlet to kind of figure out, okay, how is it a way that I can cope with this?
Yes.
How have you coped with this type of thing? And it's just like having people to talk to make friends and community
make friends.
It's
like you come here alone, but after coming here, you cannot live alone. You have to have a space where you belong to. So that's what community is, or friends are for. Well, that's really true. You have to do that. I guess like that's how we did it.
Yep, that's why I'm glad we're in a community together.
Well, there are like a couple of this game was literally really interesting for me. So there are like a couple of things that we have told you. I hope that helps you. And today, like we were trying to keep it short, but I don't think we keep it short at all. So hopefully, if you have any questions, we will try to cover it next time. And I'm going to bring Momo a lot more often than So let us know if you have any topics that you have in mind and the cultural differences or experiences that you want us to talk about. Then we would be talking about those. So till then, thank you for watching. Before going, like, subscribe, share, and comment. Talk to you later. Bye.
Bye, everybody.